German-American psychologist Hugo Münsterbers was one of the pioneering film theorists that described the early movie-going experience through a psychological study of the photoplay, a dated term for motion picture. Very skeptical and reserved towards the new medium, Münsterberg became interested in film only in the later years of its emergence. He was fascinated with its novelty as he realized the huge psychological potential, because precisely film is the art that comes closest to our mind processes than any other art. Approaching it from the standpoint of perception, he analyzed film as a mental event at the various perceptual psychological levels of attention, memory, imagination, and emotion. He started with the basic assumption that our inherent strategies of perceiving reality are repeated and moreover mirrored in the filmmaking practice. Non-linear storytelling achieved through elliptical cuts, flashbacks and forwards, jump cuts, or narrative forms make our perceived cinematic experience coherent, particularly because they fit cognitive principles that underlie perceptual processing. Thus, attention, memory, imagination, and emotion are all present and engaged in the cinematic process. Photoplay represents a story of the individual by translating elements of the outer world such as space, time, causality, by adjusting them to the forms of the inner world, thus achieving a highly individual subjective representation of reality. Münsterberg's theory is scaffolded on 5 basic assumptions. First, movement. Our visual perception is highly sensitive towards motion. Movement is an inherent external stimulus that immediately attracts our attention towards an action unfolding. Thus, the motion picture implicitly becomes pregnant in perceptual significance. Second, space. The rapidity in change of scenes that is not constrained by the physical limitation of the stage, as in theater, makes the medium overcome space boundaries. Movement progresses in various places and planes of action without disruption or stagecraft efforts.
Free will. I have my own free will, thank you very much. One day I'm going to cut myself from this damn body, and I don't know.
Let's just f*** it and go to the moon.
You think
Let's go
possible?
to the moon.
Yeah?
Yes.
Really? We could go to
Now!
the moon?
Now!
Now?
Now, we can go now!
Yeah?
Yeah! Yeah! We landed on the moon!
The moon! The moon!
Isn't that great?
Of course. So what do fingers do now? Now that we're on the moon,
Let's just
what
chill.
shall we do? Zero gravity madness?
3. Time. Film, as a sequence of frames unfolding in time, is also freed from time boundaries. Editing techniques operate in similar way to our mind's fleeting recollection of memories and thoughts. Events don't just happen in natural chronologic linearity, but alike memories, ephemeral and flexible quality, they are depicted in a very human manner, deeply subjective and interiorized. In this sense, through the medium of film, individual perception becomes a visible representation.
Bye.
4. Close-up. By guiding viewers' attention towards specific elements and details of the composition, through the close-up the filmmaker achieves to convey change not only in the outer physical space, but also in the inner perceptual experience of the viewer.
You know, there are a lot of contradictions in the Bible.
Oh yeah, tell me more.
Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet over his neighbor's wife, or yeah. It's but Jesus, he died for our sins, so it won't really matter if, you know, something happened. Oh, whoops! Oh.
5. Feelings and emotion. Unlike theater, which expresses high levels of emotional intensity only by means of bodily gestures and utterances, Cinema is able to convey emotion and feeling by means of actor's body, but also through the means of its own. The entire composition is imitating the disposition of the character, and thus photoplay embodies both action of the body and action of the mind.
I think our friend passed out with a silver mask on.
Conclusion. In his film theory, Münsterberg explains the movie-going experience as a mental event, very much governed by cognitive principles of perception and its further levels of complexity. First attention, then proceeding to memory and imagination, and most important, lastly, tackling emotional level. He concludes by stating that psychology has a lot to learn from the medium of film.